Now, if you're like me, you are well aware of how great illegal immigrants are for the United States. This article on the Hill will really give you an insight into it. I'll only go through a few bits briefly. So, there are a few subjects that evoke such emotion as immigration reform, especially since future laws could result in a path to citizenship for over 11 million illegal immigrants. When analysed from the vantage point of information derived from reputable non-partisan sources, such as the Pew Research Center, USDA, United States Department of Labor, leading economists and researchers, I love the way that the United States Department of Labor is now non-partisan. Anyway, it's not partisan to the administration in control or anything, which is why Obama stopped collecting data on, say, like, violence from black communities in 2008 when he became the president. But anyway, that doesn't matter. What really matters is that everything's totally fucking copacetic with illegal immigrants. Nothing wrong, nothing bad. In fact, if we go down a bit, we get to the where are we? Here we go. Finally, the aggregate economic impact of illegal immigration is debatable, but any claim that they've ruined the country doesn't correlate to the views of any notable economist. An open letter to President George W. Bush in 2006, signed by around 500 economists, including 5 Nobel laureates, stated the following. While a small percentage of native-born Americans may be harmed by immigration, vastly more Americans benefit from the contributions that immigrants make to our economy, including lower consumer prices. And there you have it. It's okay for some people to be harmed as long as other people are benefiting. I mean, you might call that some kind of predatory exploitative relationship, but that's only if you were one of the people being harmed. Everyone else is having a great time. Why can you not just bear your burden like a good serf? The really interesting bit, though, is, I think, that Teen Vogue have decided to really kick up a fuss about Donald Trump's administration wanting to deport even non-Mexican immigrants to Mexico. That's awful. Or is it? I mean, we were just reading about how wonderful illegal immigration is to your country, and if illegal immigration into your country is so wonderful, isn't this a net benefit to Mexico? I mean, don't they stand to benefit from lower consumer prices and all of the other wonderful cultural enrichment that comes with mass, unchecked immigration? Following a number of large-scale immigration raids across the country, President Donald Trump and the Department of Homeland Security plan to step up immigration enforcement and deportation by trying to make the Mexican government take as many undocumented migrants who enter the US through its southern border, even if they aren't originally from Mexico. That's okay, isn't it? I mean, I was about to call that racist, but then I realised that's actually okay. But I mean, I've just been paying attention to the narrative, and it seems fine. I mean, what's the problem there? So, how is Mexico taking the news? The country's officials said they won't take part in the measure. Wow, they're fucking racist. I want to clearly and emphatically say that the government of Mexico and the Mexican people do not have to accept provisions that one government unilaterally wants to impose on another. But what's wrong with all these migrants? I mean, they're good for your country. It's only a small number of your population that will suffer, and the rest will benefit. What's wrong with that, you fucking racists? We also have control of our borders and will exercise it fully. My God, it's like they're going to build a wall on their northern border to match the one they have on their southern border, because I think that we're really starting to collate a real clear picture of how Mexico is actually a white supremacist state, daring to keep out the poor immigrants. So racist. We also have control of our borders and exercise it fully. Who works on the human rights issues for the Mexican government, which I'm sure is a really busy job, added that the proposal was hostile and unacceptable, according to Reuters. Right, say, illegal immigrants are an act of hostility to the Mexican government, and yet the United States government are expected to treat them as if they are a benefit. I cannot get over this xenophobia. This is just terrible. The people involved in this should be they should be fired. There should be a national outcry. What's the name? Louis Vidigare should be castigated as a goddamn racist. Because that's all he is, and probably an Islamophobe as well. But as for how Trump's administration hopes to win over the Mexican government, newly appointed Secretary of State Rex Tillerson arrived in Mexico Wednesday afternoon. They reported that talks between Tillerson and Mexican officials will tackle subjects including trade deals between the two nations and the immigration proposal. Well, I mean, thanks for the sirens in the background. I live in, like, the safest part of the country, and there are sirens everywhere. Nice. But anyway, isn't this wonderful? But the real problem I have is from Slate. The unintended consequences of deporting criminals. Well, what are these criminals? And now they're not just immigrants, they're criminals. What are the unintended consequences? Because, listen, Joshua, if you're going to tell me that these migrants are essentially murderers, rapists, and some of them are good people, but they are supposed to be a net benefit, then Mexico should have absolutely no problem with it. They should be lapping this up. They should be doing a Canada, bending over, oiling up their buttholes and spreading their cheeks, shouldn't they? They should be like, yes, immigrants, enrich me, quickly. So, a Wednesday meeting with Guatemalan President Jimmy Morales, US Homeland Security Chief John Kelly, appeared to contradict the prevalent understanding of Donald Trump's recent deportation directives, assuring Guatemalans that rather than deporting people en masse, the administration would simply step up deportations of people with criminal records. Deporting undocumented people who commit crimes in the United States, which is every single one of them, by virtue of them being an illegal immigrant, is the kind of policy that tends to get wide bipartisan support, because there is simply no good argument to keeping criminals in your country when they shouldn't be there. Even people who are relatively sympathetic to immigration reform. The Obama administration deported such people at a record clip. Yes, 2.5 million of them, compared to the 2 million George Bush deported. But while the optics are certainly better than deporting hard-working families who are law-abiding aside from their immigration status, so yeah, who are not law-abiding, just because their immigration status is part of law that they have violated. And I'm not saying that they're all rapists or anything because they've come across the border illegally, but it's not exactly a good start, and I think that really this should be treated with more severity than it is, because after all, it's causing a percentage of the population to suffer. But, I mean, I'm not considering the benefits to the people who are not suffering. Why don't they just suffer in silence? Deporting bad hombres, as Trump memorably put it, is not without consequences. Yeah, it's going to enrich Mexico, isn't it? It's going to make Mexico a better country. We're going to make Mexico great again by sending them back the people who came to America illegally, who just happen to also be criminals. In fact, past rounds of this kind of deportation are in part driving much of the immigration into the US today. Oh, that's interesting, and they'll all get sent back. There will be a giant wall to stop them. There's nothing wrong with any of this. This is what every single sovereign nation should do, and you're complaining because now that it's going to be a problem for Mexico, but you don't care when it's a problem for the United States, and you act like the United States doing something about this problem is the United States acting unilaterally or illegally or immorally, when in fact this is completely ethical for them to do, and they should do this. Every nation state should guard its borders jealously and take in only legal immigrants. Because, I mean, this article is exactly the point. Take the traditional Mara criminal gangs. Yeah, that's an argument for fucking strong border controls. Just the existence of these criminal gangs. I mean, this is why you don't have a giant border fence against Canada. They don't have criminal gangs in Canada, to my knowledge anyway, not to this sort of extent. And so they don't need to worry about Canadian illegal immigrants. But they have it in Mexico, and so it needs to be fixed, doesn't it? And ultimately, the US people deserve to be protected from these. I mean, that's what they pay their fucking taxes for. Just so you know. Their own protection from their state. That's what it's for. So arguing against immigration or deporting these criminals is, in my opinion, lunacy. But anyway, and this is let's tug your heartstrings a bit, right? So many of these refugees come to the United States as children, fleeing their home country's long-running civil wars. What civil war is there in Mexico? Oh, this is not. It's in Guatemala, right? Okay, all of South America is now fucking owed entry into the United States. They're not. I don't know. There's no pressure on them to fix their own fucking countries. Like, was it Uruguay or Peru who had the world's poorest president, and he was deeply loved by his people because he lived the actions he would espouse. He would show it by mission of action rather than just by words, which is unheard of for a politician generally. But I mean, I can't remember, I should have looked it up in advance of the video. I didn't expect to have to bring him up, but I was reading about him the other day. And the quality of life is the highest quality of life in all of South America. And it actually seemed like a really solid country. But anyway. Which in the US provided aid to anti-leftist forces. After the Rodney King riots in the 1990s, California passed tough anti-gang laws. Well, that's racist. Congress also passed legislation to make it easier to deport illegal immigrants with criminal records around that time. That's double racist. Between 1998 and 2005, the US deported nearly 46,000 convicts to Central America, according to a 2009 report by the Small Arms Survey. They describe what happens next. 3 countries, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras, received more than 90% of the deportations from the United States. Many of these deportees were members of the 18th Street and Salvatrucha gangs, who had arrived in the United States as toddlers. Wow, toddlers as gang members. That's fucking intense. But had never secured legal residency or citizenship. They had joined the gangs as a way to feel included in a receiving country that had often actively impeded their integration because they're illegal immigrants and they shouldn't be here. They should be sent back to where they came from because that's the fucking law. On being sent back to countries of origin they barely knew, blame their parents. That's who the people responsible for this are the parents of these people. They shoulder the burden for doing this. I mean, they shoulder the burden for raising them and then allowing them to enter into gang fucking violence anyway. I would do something about my children if they were doing that. I would take action as a parent to prevent them from doing this. For God's sake. On being sent back to the countries of origin they barely knew, deportees reproduced the structures and behaviour patterns that provided them with support and security in the United States. They swiftly found local cliques or chapters of their gangs and communities of origin. In turn, these cliques rapidly attracted local youths and either supplanted or absorbed pandillas, local gangs. Well, I mean, you'll have to forgive me for being really heartless about this, but it really seems that you're saying that these people have a predilection for crime, that they can't prevent themselves from joining gangs, and that these people are dangerous, and they have no agency of their own. I mean, they couldn't choose not to join a gang. Therefore, I mean, the way that Slate describes them here is describing them as no more reasoning than a dog. This dog joined a pack. Why? Because that's what dogs do. They join packs. They can't help themselves. They've got no choice. Even when they go somewhere where there is no pack, they go there and form a pack, because that's what they do. And I'm sorry, I don't think this is the only thing they can do. I'm sure that if they were given structure and guidance, then they wouldn't need to do this. But again, who knows whose fault that is, but it's probably the fault of the United States, isn't it? Fuck's sake. And so, driven largely by gang violence, Honduras has the world's highest murder rate. El Salvador is second and Guatemala is ninth. So why exactly don't you want illegal immigrants in your country? I mean, are you really that worried about gang violence that you'll happily send them back to their countries of origin where they'll commit gang violence there? Shouldn't a minority of people suffer in the United States just so the majority of people inside and outside the United States can have a better life and cheaper products?